At the start of the story, we see a cunning thief named Morris. The police have caught him in a bank robbery case, and they're taking him to the world's most secure prison, Alcatraz, to lock him away for life. Alcatraz is a prison built on a small island in the middle of the ocean. Even if a prisoner somehow escapes the building, he can't actually run anywhere. The ocean blocks every path. That's why this prison was considered the most secure in the world. Only the world's top criminals were kept here. But soon, the reputation of this prison would crumble, because now, a mastermind thief named Frank Morris, a man who had escaped from jail several times before, had just arrived. This time, though, Morris was nervous. Alcatraz was unbelievably secure. But he had no intention of spending his whole life here. He wanted to escape as soon as possible. From the moment he entered, the idea of escape had already taken root in his mind. After a full body search, they locked him inside a cell. A guard said, "Welcome to Alcatraz," and that's where the real story begins. A bell rings, and all the cell doors open automatically. Officers call the inmates out. The prison's discipline is extremely strict. Inmates must stay clean, follow rules, and return to their cells exactly on time. Everyone wears the same uniform and lines up for breakfast. In front of Morris sits an inmate named Litmus. Morris says, "I didn't get a fork. How am I supposed to eat my noodles?" Litmus replies, "This isn't your home. Eat whatever you got, quietly." Suddenly, a dangerous inmate named Wolf starts teasing Morris. Everyone in the prison feared Wolf. He bullied other inmates, did whatever he wanted, and had multiple rape charges. Litmus asks Morris for some food, and Morris hands over his plate. When Morris looks under the table, he realizes Litmus isn't eating, he's feeding his pet rat. At night, a guard takes Morris to the warden. The warden says he knows Morris is sharp and intelligent, but none of that matters here. Many smart inmates had come here, but none had ever escaped. "Don't even think about running," the warden warns, "or you'll be torn to pieces." Morris replies, "Sir, who would dare think of escaping under your watch?" But in reality, Morris had already started planning from day one. During the conversation, Morris quietly steals the warden's nail clipper, something small, but in a place like Alcatraz, even a tiny tool can be powerful. He hides it inside a Bible. The next day in the bathroom, Wolf tries bothering Morris again. This time, Morris fights back and beats him badly. Overnight, Morris's reputation rises throughout the prison. Morris gets assigned to work in the library. There he meets an older inmate named English, who had been jailed for 2 murders and had spent half his life here. He knew everything that happened in the prison, even the fight between Morris and Wolf. Later, Morris meets another inmate, Doc, an artist painting his own portrait. Doc is gentle and calm. Painting keeps him sane in a place that can drive anyone crazy. He says the flower he painted represents his happiness, something he has only in his art, not in real life. Morris sits with English and immediately asks him for help escaping. English laughs. "This isn't a jail," he says. "It's our grave. The only way we leave is dead." Even if Morris climbed the walls, dodged the guards, escaped the forces, and somehow made it outside, the sea would stop him. Don't waste your time. Serve your sentence. At least you'll stay alive. But Morris was determined. That night a guard informs Morris he'll be doing carpentry work, and will earn 50 cents an hour. Morris agrees immediately, hoping he might find tools useful for escape. Next day, Morris asks Litmus about escape routes. Litmus jokes, "Easy. Every cell has an air vent leading to the roof." Then walks away smiling. Suddenly, Wolf attacks Morris with a knife. Morris fights back, wrapping his coat around his hand. A guard intervenes, but Wolf stabs him too. Chaos breaks out. The tower guard fires warning shots. Only then do they stop fighting. Morris realizes there are guards watching from the tower too. He begins noticing every detail of the prison. Both Morris and Wolf are thrown into D-Block, a dark torture cell where no inmate wants to go. Wolf threatens Morris, "I'll be the one to kill you." For 2 weeks, Morris suffers torture in total darkness. When he finally returns to his cell, Litmus sends him a "welcome back, Morris" note through his pet rat. A new inmate named Charlie arrives next door. Morris becomes friends with him and introduces him to others. Meanwhile, the warden inspects cells secretly. At Doc's cell, he sees many paintings, including one of himself. He smiles, but for some unknown reason, the next day he orders all of Doc's paintings thrown out. This destroys Doc emotionally. Painting was the only thing keeping him alive. Morris tries reassuring him, but Doc is too broken. Doc is given carpentry work too. Quietly, he slips a small item into Morris's pocket, the flower from his painting. Then he calls a guard, picks up the carpentry axe, and cuts off 3 of his own fingers, screaming, "If I can't paint with them, I don't need them." The next day, Morris sees a cockroach crawl into the air vent. It confirms his suspicion. There is a way out through there. English tells Morris that Doc amputated his fingers because they revoked his painting privileges. Morris becomes furious. At lunch, the warden asks Morris why he supports Doc so much. Morris denies it and walks away. Morris meets 2 brothers, John and Clarence. He talks to them as if he already knew them, because they were part of his old gang in another prison. The brothers are smart just like Morris. Now the 3 of them begin planning an escape. Charlie's girlfriend visits. English's daughter visits too, now grown up. Emotional scenes unfold. Charlie learns his mother is critically ill. After hearing she may not survive more than a couple of months, he decides he wants to escape too. He tells Morris, "If you plan anything, include me." The group, Morris, Charlie, John, and Clarence, holds a meeting. Morris reveals, every cell's air vent leads to the roof. The salty sea air has weakened the walls. He has already started digging using the nail clipper. If he can dig enough to reach the roof, he can scout the area and plan the rest. Clarence suggests using dummy heads made from real human hair, supplied by a barber he knows. They'll place these fake heads on their beds so guards think they're sleeping while they sneak out through the tunnels. But the plan still has one major problem. How will we cross the sea water? Maurice says to John, "Look, I'm going to need your help with this. You work in the closing department. There, you can get raincoats made for the police officers. So steal a few raincoats and give them to me. We can make a tube boat and life jackets from them to cross the sea." Here, Charlie says, "Brother, give me some work too. I want to help you guys." Maurice tells Charlie, "When I dig the ventilation grill, you keep watch so no guard sees us. And when you dig, I'll keep watch." Morris's plan is liked by everyone, and that very night they start working. But the nail cutter is too small to dig the wall, and Maurice has to exert a lot of force, making digging very difficult. His hands get some small injuries, but he slowly starts digging the hole. The next day, at the dining table, he tells his friends, "I need a bigger tool for digging. Using the nail cutter to break the wall is very difficult." Then, seeing a spoon in his hand, Maurice gets an idea. He deliberately rubs the spoon on his shoe to make it dirty. After that, Maurice calls the guard and says, "This spoon is dirty. Give me another one." The others also request the guard to change their spoons. The guard doesn't suspect anything and immediately allows the spoon exchange. After that, Maurice walks straight to the table where another security guard is sitting. As he starts exchanging the spoons on the table, John distracts the guard with conversation. Taking advantage of this, Maurice takes 2 spoons instead of 1 and hides one in his pocket, then goes straight to his cell. At night, English comes to give him a book, and Maurice asks, "Is there any welding equipment available here?" English understands that Maurice is still obsessed with escaping from jail. He says, "I've told you before, your attempt will be useless because you'll get caught, and you might even lose your life. In all these years, I never thought of escaping because I know it's impossible. But if you're stubborn, what can I do? Try it if you want." Maurice doesn't care about the warning. The next day, he asks Litmus for matches and says, "If you help me, I'll give your rat its share of food every day." Litmus happily agrees to the deal because he loves the rat. That night, Litmus passes the matches to Maurice. Maurice removes a handle from the nail cutter to make a small pickaxe. He then breaks a spoon and attaches it to the nail cutter handle. Using the matches, he welds them together properly to make a sharp tool. Then he starts digging around the vent. Charlie keeps watch. If any guard comes that way, he will immediately blow the whistle to signal Maurice. But while keeping watch, Charlie dozes off, and a guard arrives. Luckily, English intervenes and distracts the guard, and Charlie wakes up hearing English's conversation. In the tension, Charlie cannot blow the whistle and drops something instead. Maurice understands the signal, covers the vent, and lies down on the bed. The guard asks, "I smell something burning here." Maurice replies, "Sir, with you around, who would dare smoke? I don't smell anything." The guard is satisfied and moves on. "At least someone appreciates me." As soon as he leaves, Maurice removes the concrete around the vent. But he notices that screws are also embedded along with the ventilation grill, which will require a sharp tool to cut. Whenever Maurice gets a chance to go outside during this time, he quietly drops the cement pieces that have come out of the grill. The next day, while doing carpentry work, he picks up a piece of metal that is sharp like a knife. But Charlie warns him, "How will you get this out past the metal detector?" Maurice confidently replies, "Don't worry, I'll handle everything." When Maurice goes outside, the metal detector at the door starts beeping. Actually, Maurice is holding the metal in his hand. The guard asks, "Why are you carrying this?" Maurice says, "Sir, I thought I'd use it to hang my clothes." The guard says, "Don't get too clever and give it to me." He takes the metal, checks Maurice thoroughly, and lets him go. But our hero is a hero indeed. Actually, he had stolen 2 pieces of metal, one in his hand, and the other hidden in his shoes. Using the sharp metal, he cuts the grill. Now comes the task of fooling the guards by making a fake head. Each of the 4 of them takes responsibility for their part. Charlie gets some paint from a guard, saying, "I like making art." The guard doesn't refuse and brings him the paint. Maurice crushes the concrete removed from the hole into powder. John collects hair from the barber's shop, and Clarence gathers old books from the library. Once all the materials are collected, Maurice starts making a dummy head using water and old magazines. He paints it and adds fake hair, creating a very realistic-looking head. At the same time, to strengthen his plan, Maurice makes fake cardboard walls so no one would suspect that someone has dug a tunnel in the wall. One night, Maurice decides to go upstairs alone. He places the fake head on the bed and covers it up to the neck with a blanket. Then, carrying the fake cardboard, he emerges from the tunnel. He grabs some pipes and slowly climbs up to the roof. On the other side, Charlie keeps watch. Once on the roof, Maurice sees an iron grill above, which he can't reach even by jumping. Meanwhile, a guard comes and asks Charlie, "Why are you painting so late at night? And why did your friend Maurice go to sleep so early today?" Charlie replies, "Sir, Maurice was tired from doing carpentry work today, so he went to sleep early." Suddenly, the guard drops his stick. While picking it up, he notices that Maurice's hair looks very strange. Charlie starts shaking in fear, thinking, "Today we're doomed." The guard reaches into Maurice's cell and touches his hair. Maurice asks, "What's the matter, sir? Are my hairs that beautiful?" Luckily, Maurice had already laid down on the floor in time. Next day, Maurice tells his companions that there is a way to the roof, but it's blocked by a grill placed very high. "I need one more helper," he says. John replies, "I've completely cleared my vent. Tonight I'll join you there." Together, they plan to open the grill. That night, Maurice and John reach the roof through their vents. John lifts Maurice up, and Maurice grabs the grill. John sees that the iron grill is very strong and fully welded. The only way to remove it is to cut it with a drill machine. Next day, during music class, everyone is playing their instruments as they like. Maurice notices a small fan lying around. Seeing it, he thinks he can turn it into a drill machine. He tells Charlie, "You need to somehow hide this fan." Charlie easily hides the small fan in his instrument box. When Charlie comes out, the guards check his instrument box but don't notice the fan and let him pass. As soon as Maurice gets the fan, he begins working on it, and after several hours he turns it into a drill machine. That night, Maurice and Charlie climb to the roof and start cutting the iron rod of the grill with the drill machine. The sound of the drill is very loud, and the guards begin coming upstairs. But by then, Maurice has already cut one rod of the grill, and the drilling noise stops. Once the noise stops, the guards ignore it and go back. Now, the four of them have cleared all the paths for escape. On Tuesday night, they are going to escape from Alcatraz, the world's most secure prison, a feat no one has ever accomplished. The next day, they meet again in the movie hall, where everyone is watching a film. Amid the sound of the movie, Maurice asks John and Clarence, "Is your vent ready? And what about the raincoats we were going to use to make tubes and life jackets?" They reply, "Everything is ready. Our dummy head is also completely ready. Now it's just a matter of escaping." Next morning, during breakfast, Maurice places the flower given by the dog on the table. When the warden sees it, he comes over and crushes the flower. This angers Litmus because the flower was the dog's favorite, and the dog had died. In his anger, Litmus attacks the warden, saying, "First, you killed the dog, and now you're destroying the little memento it left." But as he attacks, the warden suddenly suffers a heart attack and falls down. Maurice is furious at the warden, and that night, the four decide to escape. Maurice waits until midnight so that the guards' vigilance weakens, making it easier to get out. Meanwhile, English brings Maurice some books. Maurice says, "I want to shake your hand one last time." English realizes that Maurice has made a solid escape plan and quietly leaves. But then something happens that Maurice did not expect at all. The warden suddenly comes to check his cell, as if someone had informed him about the plan. Maurice panics because all his months of hard work were about to be ruined. The warden orders the guards to check every corner of Maurice's cell. They inspect every item, but Maurice is no ordinary prisoner. He hasn't made a simple plan. He has made a perfectly clean and flawless plan, one that even the warden or the warden's grandfather could not catch. Even when the guards move the suitcase from the spot where Maurice had created the tunnel escape, he is not caught because he had already fitted a fake cardboard perfectly into the wall. Finding nothing, the warden and guards leave. But one guard mentions that Maurice and Charlie talk all night. "Something's fishy here," he thinks. The warden says, "Fine, tomorrow change Maurice's cell so that they're not together and can't communicate." The next day, during breakfast, Wolf threatens Maurice again, saying, "Tonight will be your last night." Maurice tells his companions, "That fool is right. Tonight will indeed be my last night here." But in the afternoon, Wolf tries to stab Maurice with a knife. English intervenes and stops him. In fact, English also wants to help Maurice. Whether he succeeds or not, he wants to support him in the plan. That night, Maurice, John, Clarence, and Charlie decide to meet on the roof using their respective vents. Charlie agrees to escape with them, but as he reaches his cell, he becomes nervous. Sitting alone, he decides not to join the plan. The other three proceed through their vents to the roof. They wait for Charlie for a long time, but after enough time passes, they assume he won't come and decide to leave without him. Following their plan, the three move forward. Meanwhile, Charlie sees his dream of freedom slipping away. The three gradually move, hiding from the searchlights, and reach the edge of the building. Charlie feels inspired and decides to escape as well. He climbs through his vent to the roof, but by then it's too late. He cannot reach the door on the roof alone. He loses his chance at freedom out of fear. On the other hand, the three reach the ground by hanging from a pipe, avoiding the tower security guard's sight, and reach the last wall of the prison. One by one, they climb over the fence and escape. The three run to the shore, remove the raincoats, and start inflating them with their mouths. It takes a long time, but they have no other choice. Finally, they inflate the tube boat made from raincoats and put it in the water. In this way, the three escape, leaving Alcatraz's reputation behind. The next morning, a guard checks each cell. Initially, everything seems normal. But when he reaches Charlie's cell, Charlie is standing like a ghost, silently scolding himself, thinking, "If only I had gathered some courage last night, I could have escaped with the others." The guard asks, "Why has your friend been sleeping so long?" He goes to Maurice's cell and calls out, but receives no answer. Angry, the guard tries to open the cell and lift Maurice by his hair. As he pulls him upward, Maurice's head falls down. The guard's legs nearly give way. Maurice is no longer in the cell. He is enjoying the outside world. He had left a dummy head on the bed. Alarms go off throughout Alcatraz. News spreads that some prisoners have escaped. The warden searches every corner of the prison for the three, and when he doesn't find them, he starts a search operation in the sea. He can't believe the three have escaped. He assumes they must have drowned. But deep down, he knows they were strong. They must have crossed the water and are now tasting freedom. Officers at headquarters question the warden, "Where were you when they escaped?" The warden is extremely tense. Then, the warden finds the dog's favorite flower, a reminder that Maurice wanted revenge on the warden as well. The head of the search team reports that the entire area has been searched, but no bodies were found. To save his job and reputation, the warden instructs the report to state that the three tried to escape but drowned in the water. But no one believed Walton's report. Maurice becomes famous worldwide as a genius for breaking out of Alcatraz. 1 year later, Alcatraz prison is shut down, as there is no guarantee that anyone could be prevented from escaping.